I'm so glad you made it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Tanisha Green, also known as Miss Empanada, and this is Cooking Up Joy. We're gonna spice it up, okay? I thought I won you over. Guys, I'm like really excited. This is so exciting. I am so happy to be starting this journey with you all. So thank you so much for tuning in and checking out my channel. Honestly, this has been something that's been on my heart for a couple of years now, but I just didn't have the time or the dedication to commit to a platform like this. So I've been blessed with time. Now is the time I told myself to start this channel. So just a quick introduction for those of you who don't know me. I am the founder, owner, and chef of Miss Empanada LLC. I offer classic, gourmet, vegan, and dessert options, something for literally every lifestyle. However, it's not just going to be videos of me cooking empanadas. I'm definitely planning on bringing you guys some really fun, exciting, and engaging content just regarding food. I kind of already announced this on my social media accounts to my friends and family. I asked you guys to send in some questions for like a quick Q&A intro video, just so that for those of you who don't know me can get to know me. So I know you guys are probably paying attention to the food. I have food sitting in. I'm trying not to look at the camera. I do have one of my empanadas here. I have my favorite sauce, which is guacamole salsa. Oh my God, so good. If you've never tried this before, you need to try it. Guacamole salsa, and then of course you cannot have an empanada without a malta from Goya. If it ain't Goya, it ain't good, okay? Okay. My empanada. Now this particular flavor is one of my favorites. It's my best seller from our client base. It's spinach and feta. What is that? It's really, really good. If you're somebody who's not really like a meat eater and you kind of like to stay on the vegetable side, this right here, we're gonna be like, where has it been all my life? So let's start with a question or two before I eat this, because it is hot. I literally just fried it. This one seems like it makes sense to answer first because it's literally asking who I am. So this question says, how did you get into becoming Miss Empanada? I actually learned how to make empanadas through a friend. It wasn't even by my family. Like those of you who know my family, my mom is Puerto Rican, my dad is Black. So even though I grew up in a household that my mother cooked nothing but Spanish food, she never made empanadas. And the funny thing is, we loved empanadas, but we would just like go to like the local bodega, you know, the corner bodega or the local grocery store, buy them for $1. I'm sure everybody is familiar with that. But when I was 16, 17 years old, a friend of mine had invited me to her house for a girls' night. She's like, hey, you want to come over? I'm gonna make some empanadas. We'll get some snacks and, you know, drinks, and we'll just chill. So I was like, okay, cool. So we, you know, I went to her house and she taught me how to make empanadas. And guys, when I tell you, okay, this was the first time that I've ever had like homemade fresh empanadas, like made at home. And listen, homemade empanadas are so much better than store-bought bodega empanadas. So basically, she introduced me to that world. Long story short, me and her stopped being friends and I wanted some empanadas. I did everything that I possibly could to try to replicate her recipe and figure out how to make empanadas from scratch, from home. And I had a lot of trial and error. It took me a really long time to kind of just develop my own way and realize I was doing it correctly. I perfected it because at that time I was also in a relationship, and the guy that I was dating, he ate nothing but empanadas, surprisingly, and french fries and chicken nuggets. That's it. He didn't eat anything else. So After that, I was super confident in making them, and for every birthday party, potluck, company potluck, baby shower, I was always asked to bring a pan of empanadas, and everybody would taste them. They're like, oh my God, these are the best empanadas I've ever had. Who made these? They say, Tanisha made them. And I became the empanada lady. So fast forward to today, I would have never thought that this little skill that I dedicated myself to learning how to do would expand so largely. How old are you? I'm 28. I'll be 29 in February. Who inspired you to want to start cooking? I don't think I was really inspired. I guess it's an inspiration, but it's a funny one. Basically, I grew up in a household where both my parents were always in the kitchen. My mom cooked, my dad cooked, and I used to just watch them. Me and my sister would just watch them, and we just like picked up on little things here and there. But the funny part was my mom, even though she knew how to cook, you know, Spanish food, and like, my mom can cook, okay? My mom can throw down. She was always on a diet. My mother was always on a diet. Mom, if you're watching this, you know it's true. My sister will testify to this. If she was on a diet, the whole house was on a diet. She would make turkey, bacon, and egg whites for breakfast. We ate so many vegetables. We ate broccoli, spinach, all of that at a very, very young age. Which, you know, I love broccoli, spinach. This is a spinach and feta empanada. But I'm a meat eater. I love meat. Like when my mom was pregnant with me, she said she ate nothing but like chicken, steak, things like that. And she thought I was going to be a boy because she was eating nothing but meat. I'm not really big on sides. I don't like anything that doesn't have meat. So when I got to the age where I could use the stove, I made sure that I was in that kitchen cooking because I wanted to have the food that I wanted to eat. I wanted real fatty bacon. I didn't want broccoli. I didn't want spinach. I wanted rice and beans, you know. So I guess you can say my mom inspired me to want to cook because I wanted to eat the food that I wanted to eat and not her diet food. What age did you start cooking and when did you discover your love for it? I want to say I started like cooking when I was like 14, 15 years old. When my parents split up, we had moved in with my father. And I remember one day my dad was making like oven baked steak, and I was like, ooh, that looks good. And I remember asking him to show me how he made it, and he did. And from there I just realized like this is fun, you know, like putting spices together, putting ingredients together, and just kind of like creating art in food. Cooking is such an art. It is definitely a craft, it's a skill, and I just love it. It makes me feel so like, I don't know. I don't know the words to say how it makes me feel, but when I made that steak for the first time and it tasted so good, I realized I enjoy this. So I want to say 14, 15 years old, I started cooking. When did you decide you wanted to make it your career? I love this question because I do remember the exact moment I said, I'm gonna do this. So like I said, I became the empanada lady with all my friends and family in my community. Everybody called me when they were having a party, a baby shower, whatever, to make a pan of empanadas. I'm ready to eat this. It's gonna definitely drip juice, so I'm just gonna dip this in sauce. Guys. The main thing was that I really enjoyed serving people. It wasn't always just about the art of cooking, which plays a huge role as well. But it was also the effect of serving people. Because anytime that I would get called, it was for a party or something like that. And I love making people happy. I love making people smile. Anybody who knows me, I'm very bubbly. I'm a jokester. I can never really be serious in a serious moment. Cooking and food is like, everybody loves food. And it's just something that brings people together and it puts smiles on people's faces. And I just loved that with the combination of people saying, oh my gosh, this tastes so good. So I always knew I wanted to be in the food industry. And I even like spent a couple of years as a waitress, which I absolutely loved doing. But being that I was a waitress, I also saw the lifestyle of a chef, you know, being in the kitchen. And I always told myself I didn't want to do that. It was very stressful, fast-paced. I knew I did not have the patience for it. And it was just too much going on, very chaotic. And I don't really like chaos in the kitchen. Like, that's why I like to cook pretty much by myself. One weekend I went on a girls trip with my friends to Boston. I was like 20, 21 at the time. And we were just talking about our future and what we wanted to do. And she was talking about how she wanted to be, I think, a lawyer. And her sister wanted to be a news reporter. And then our other friend, she was starting up her business at the time. And I was like, I want to cook, but I don't want to be a chef in a restaurant. Like, I don't want to work in a restaurant. And she was the one who told me, why don't you be a personal chef? And at that time, I was still young, so I didn't even realize that that was like a thing, like that was a career. She's like, you know, they do make a lot of money, because I also wanted to make sure that I was going to do something that was, you know, financially rewarding. And when she brought that to my attention, I was like, duh, I would love to be a personal chef. I could go do house calls and I don't have to be around other people. I can cook in my element and then, you know, serve families. It's almost like being a waitress and doing what I already do in one. And that was the moment that I knew that I wanted to do something that regarded catering or personally serving people. I thought it was going to be on a bigger scale of like gourmet food, because I also loved like the art of plating and making your food look really pretty. But I would have never thought that it was going to be empanadas. Like, that's just where God took me. But I'm glad that it's this, because it's so simple, it's easy, and I can still be creative with this and come up with flavors that people would have never imagined to put inside of an empanada while still keeping it authentically Latino. That's when I decided I wanted to make it a career. What was the first dish you perfected? I want to say it's the oven baked steak, because that was the first like real meal that I asked my dad to teach me how to cook. And the moment he taught me is when I tried to do it on my own. And I just kept doing it until I found my way. My mom also makes oven baked steak, but she makes it in a Spanish way. And my dad makes it with a little bit more like a gourmet twist to it. And so I took my dad's style and my mom's style and combined it and then added my own little flair to where now I have my own way of making oven baked steak. Ooh, I like this question. When you don't feel like cooking, what's one of your easy go-to meals? I never feel like cooking. Anyone who knows me will know how true this is. I do not like to cook for myself. And I think anybody who like cooks all the time could relate. But if I had to, if there was a snow blizzard outside or whatever, chicken and potatoes. That's this really simple meal. It's a one-pan meal. It does take a little bit of time because I like to slow cook my meat. But if you have a crock pot, it's definitely a quick one-pan meal that you can make that tastes so good. Do you have a preference on cooking breakfast over dinner or vice versa? Yes, I do have a preference, and my preference is dinner. I'm a meat eater. I don't do cereal. I can't have bacon. I said bacon. I was going to say pancakes without bacon, but my brain combined the two and said bacon. But breakfast is very limited, you know, when it comes to meat. So to answer the question, I definitely prefer dinner because I'm a meat eater and I could eat that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, to be honest with you. So yeah. What's your least favorite dish to make, but everyone loves? Spanish rice and beans. You guys are probably like, what? Listen, growing up in a Spanish household, that's all we ate. Spanish rice and beans. And I cannot stand it. The people that I'm surrounded by in my life, they love Spanish rice and beans. They love it. I hate making it. I don't even like to look at it. I don't like to taste it. I can't. It's not my favorite. Do you have a favorite cooking tool? Yes, I do actually. I just got it. This is my favorite cooking tool right now. It helps you to chop up your fruits and vegetables, and I love it because I use a lot of vegetables in my dishes, especially my empanadas, and I just clip it on like this so that it creates like a dice, and then you put it inside here like that, and then you attach this container to the thing like that, and then you just take like your peppers, your onions, whatever it is, you put it inside here, you close it, and it dices and it just falls right inside. You can take it off, and I have lids. These come with lids, and you could close it, put it in the refrigerator, diced peppers, so that way when you're cooking tomorrow or whatever, you already have them ready. When I tell you, like, this thing cuts down my empanada prep by like so much time. This right now is my favorite cooking tool that I use right now. This one asks, where do you see yourself in 5 years? That's a really good question. You definitely always have to have a plan, especially as an entrepreneur. I will have my empanada distribution center, which is what I really want, so that I can start offering wholesale, building wholesale relationships with places like Walmart, Costco's, BJ's. A lot of my customers are always asking, like, where can I buy these in bulk? And, you know, right now that's not an option because in the state of New York, you have to have a distribution center in order to get licensed for wholesaling. Definitely want to have a location or a food truck, or both would be amazing. Am I planning to expand my business? Absolutely. That's why I started this channel. Help you guys to get to know me and my daily life as Miss Empanada. Get to know me on a more personal level and, you know, gain some additional support outside of the support that I already have with people who, you know, interact with me in real life. What is some advice you can give to supporters on how to become an entrepreneur? I actually love this question because I have such a passion for helping people, you know, get their business off the ground. That's actually my second business. I am a business consultant as well. Obviously, when I became Miss Empanada, I went through the journey pretty much by myself. You know, I had help here and there, but for the most part, I did everything on my own. And I made a lot of mistakes. I'm not gonna lie. I made a lot of mistakes that were very expensive mistakes. And I just have a passion with helping people who, you know, want to start a business to not make those same mistakes that I did, to make sure that they do everything correctly, that they don't overlook anything and avoid those expensive mistakes. So if I had to give any advice to someone who wants to be an entrepreneur, my first advice would be start. That's like the biggest thing. People just sit on ideas. They sit on talents. They sit on gifts, and they think that you have to have it all together and it has to be perfected for you to start. That's so not true. For those of you who know me, and if you don't know me, I will tell you, when I started Miss Empanada, I started out with vacuum seal bags. Like, not even kidding you guys. Vacuum seal bags with Dollar Tree labels that I wrote on and said, this is beef and cheese, okay? And I was stapling it onto the paper. I would write out my thank you cards on an index card, and I was providing it to people that way. Now I have custom boxes, and I designed this myself, okay? And this is my beef and cheese box. I even used to write out the instructions, you guys, on a piece of paper. But people still supported me. That was the main thing. They still supported me because they were just so proud that I was doing this, especially because a lot of these people have always seen me like doing empanadas, and then when they saw me like take it serious, they respected me just for that alone. And now it was like more enjoyable for them to watch my journey of growing in this business because they remember where I started. So my first advice would be to start. My second advice would be to take risks. I know way too many people who have a desire to be an entrepreneur or to have a business in general, and they be scared to do stuff. They don't want to spend money. They don't want to hire people. They don't want to invest. They don't want to get legalized. They don't want to be formed. You have to take risks as an entrepreneur. That's literally what it is. You're taking a risk. You're taking a financial risk. You're taking an emotional risk. Just taking risks as an entrepreneur all the time, and you're never gonna not have to take a risk ever. You know, every decision that you make, you're taking a risk because you're the only one that's betting on you. And if you're somebody who's scared all the time to make moves, then your business is not going to grow, and you're not going to make it, because you never know that one decision that you make might change your life. And last but not least, take the limits off. Don't limit yourself. Don't dream small, dream big. There's nothing that you cannot do. If you're passionate about it, dedicated, you put in the time and the energy and consistency, and you take risks on yourself, take a chance on yourself, there's nothing that you can't do. How do I deal with failure? That's a really good question. I like that one. Brush it off, keep going. I don't consider failure, if that makes sense. I consider them lessons. Like I said, when I started, I made a lot of mistakes. But my mom always says that I'm the type of person that if I have my mind set on something, I don't care what it takes. I don't care how long it takes. I'm gonna see it through. I'm a very determined person. So even when I do make mistakes and, I have my hiccups along the way, I analyze it and I say, okay, what can I do different to where this won't be the outcome the next time I try? Or, I'll try to self-reflect and see what I did wrong, or was it a self problem, or was it a system problem? Was it a process problem? Like, do I need to change the way I want to execute this particular portion of my vision? And then I try again. that's then I do it again, and then lo and behold, like 9 times out of 10, every time I do it another time, it works out better, and I'm like, okay, this is a better method. But one thing I don't do is give up. There's too many people who try to start something and they hit a couple of bumps along the road and then they're just ready to throw in a towel. Oh, this is not for me. Every successful person has failed numerous times before they were just successful. Okay? It's how you learn. It's how you grow. It's how you evolve. It's nothing but a lesson that needs to be reflected on and analyzed and broken down so that you can build again correctly. Here's my last question. What sets you apart from your competitors in the food industry? In the food industry, that's very broad, so I'm going to say my competitors in this particular niche and market of empanadas. And like I said, it's the serving part. It's not so much of the cooking part. So I have never met so many people doing empanadas until I started doing it. And I say that humbly. You know how when you buy a new car, you never saw that car until you bought it? Now, that I'm like going more public and stuff with this business, I'm starting to see a lot of people all of a sudden launching empanada businesses because maybe they realize the need for it in the communities. But my customers, they tell me there's just something different about me. And honestly, I know what it is. My strength comes from a different source. My ideas and creativity come from a different source. And when I'm in that kitchen cooking, I'm not cooking alone. So that's what sets me apart. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to my very first episode. If you enjoyed today's content, please make sure that you give me a thumbs up on this video. Make sure you subscribe so you can join the Empa family, and turn on your bell notifications so that you know the next time I post a joyful video. Have a blessed day.